Well, we're going live. We should be live. Hopefully, people get notifications. Somebody's already liked it, but we don't have any viewers yet. That's interesting. Um, does show that we're
Uh,
streaming to Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We've got four people. Oh, the race is on. There are four people watching on YouTube. None on Facebook yet. It's. I got
well,
my YouTube notification.
I told you when it comes to Zuckerberg, there's something going on.
You and Zuckerberg, and every week that we do this show, which by the way, we've been doing a lot of weeks. What is this, our like third year now or something? Let's see here. Let's see
I
if
don't
we
know
get.
if, yeah. So, look, I told you a lot of people y'all may have saw it, Rex. We were talking about it earlier, and I told you, that girl that was on that plane, that well, they labeled her the Karen on a plane, and she had this freaking meltdown, right? I,
Right.
and some people say, okay, there was actually somebody in the back that like wound her up and or didn't wound her up. But so on Twitter, somebody had made a meme. You know me, I'm into that. I like his funny.
Yeah.
But something tripped her out, and boy, she got up, went to the center of the plane, and she's a cussing using every word. I mean, you'd have thought she was in the Navy. And she's talking about, if y'all want to fly on this plane with that back there, you can die, but I'm not. Blah blah blah. And you could see the person that was videoing her and everybody in the plane when she started pointing to the person in the back of the plane. And they turned the camera, and everybody turned their heads to look back there. Well, somebody took that clip and they put this ominous little clip of Zuckerberg, you know, looking like Mr. Evil or Dr. Evil back there in the back. Well, if you go try to find it anywhere, I mean, and it was like blowing up on Twitter. If you go try to find it
Mhm.
anywhere, it's gone. You can't
It's
find
gone
it.
on Twitter?
It's gone on Twitter. They
Well, that's
they
odd considering that Elon and Zuckerberg are literally going to have a fist fight now. Literally.
oh
I mean, they've like challenged
yeah,
each other to MMA style or whatever they're going to do.
but I'm telling you, go try to find that criticism of Zuckerberg, and it's not there. It's been wiped.
Maybe the only person that can criticize Zuckerberg is Elon himself.
Maybe
There's that.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I've kind of gotten to where I'm starting to use Twitter more since Elon's taken it over. Um, and I've tried out that new Facebook or Meta or whatever their parent company's called, Threads, which is the, supposed Twitter killer. It's it's amazing to me, and we'll get off the tech stuff here in a second, but it's amazing to me that not too long ago, Zuckerberg was the Antichrist in the face of most of the media, but now he's the hero for coming out with Threads, which is going to kill Twitter because the media doesn't like Elon now, who was the darling of the media not all that long ago before he took over Twitter.
Right. Well, I find myself on Twitter all the time, and the only reason I go to Facebook is to Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
serious.
true.
Well, and when we do this show, that's
Yeah.
that's it.
Well, and we've said it before, so we'll say it again, and then we'll get on through the intro and all that. But folks, just in case we go offline on Facebook, go find us on YouTube or go find us on Twitter because we're not going to stop the stream or anything anymore. We're going to keep right on pushing ahead. Or, if you're watching on Twitter or YouTube and that stream happens to go down for some reason, then find us on Facebook. And if all of it goes down, we're just going to keep on talking anyway, and we'll post it later. So, pretty much we have everything covered, I think, but we'll see.
Yeah, sounds like a plan. So, generally, I think before we do our little countdown, people may want to know what we're going to chat about tonight, and
Well,
I think
we're
this is going to be one of those shows. Before you tell everybody, I think this is going to be one of those shows that for the people watching it, they're going to be enlightened.
Well, not just that, we have some positive news. People say that, we delve in only the bad stuff and talking about people all the time. We actually have some good news to share on the term limits front. I mean, I guess depending on your perception, it could be spell bad news for some elected officials, but on balance, it's actually good news. It's a positive thing. I even have good things to say about Tommy tonight.
Well, let's go to the break because I don't want us to take a chance on missing anybody to hear you say good things about Tommy.
Yeah. All right. So, folks, y'all know the drill. We're going to hit the little intro and countdown and all that. As a matter of fact, we might just skip the countdown because I need to do that. Let's just do our little intro and we'll come
Yeah,
right back and come into the show.
yeah, and hey, let's ask a favor of everybody watching to y'all tag a friend or share it to a friend or share this on your page because we have been getting some reports of people not getting the notifications.
Yeah.
And we don't know whether that's social media jacking with us or what, but people who have asked for the notifications are not getting them. So help us out. Let's get
Yeah.
some people informed.
I'll tell you what, we'll go ahead and we'll do the full intro and the ads, and that'll give people, maybe a few more minutes to find everything, and we'll be back as usual in about 2.5 or 3 minutes. We'll play by the plan, by the rule book tonight. All right, here we go.
Just they feel helpless, they don't feel heard, they have nowhere to turn.
In all honesty, we try to lay low a little bit because of the fear that we would not be able to camp there.
And I titled it "A Shot Across the Bow of the Good Old Boys."
Hello, everybody. I don't think I've ever done a video before on here, but yeah, I wanted to tell y'all what frustrates me a little bit about permits.
The cockroach of the week is, drumroll please, Allie Feaster Smith.
We can't be apathetic about what's going on in our state. We have to all pull up our bootstraps and get on top of this. So you're right. There's a problem out there. I mean, and man, you can see it everywhere.
Well, look, we have allowed government to become our wherewithal to everything.
Well, I've not heard my name in stable or Baton Rouge in stable in the same sentence in a long time.
You're about to be killed by a Zamboni, or you're gonna die in 5 minutes.
This Bossier Watch live broadcast is brought to you by David B. Womack for all your contracting and construction needs. The Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 23 years in the mortgage business. Pelican Training and Consulting is an IWTP customized training provider with over 25 years of success to show for it. Call them for a free consultation today. Pelican Training and Consulting matches employers with 50-plus employees with training dollars. Smarter Geek, making technology easier. And the many supporters, donations, and folks sharing information and watching out for Bossier. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go. Well, if you hear my lawnmower in the background, or actually technically it's my mother's lawnmower because mine's on the fritz, so I borrowed hers. I apologize, but we have to cut the yard in between the rain showers and work and all that. If we get a thunder shower, then we can't cut part of the yard because it turns into a virtual swamp. So if you happen to hear that, it's just work in progress out there.
Well, I haven't watched the comments, but I wanted to see. It looks like the only people that plan to comment in the comment sections tonight is Greg Bell and Val Baker.
Well, Mike and Judy Dillingham said that they're watching, so we do have that comment. So, some people are a little bashful, but hey, we got to say the viewership's up tonight. It's about 50 people or so, maybe more than that, including Twitter, that are watching right now. So that's always good. We appreciate everybody.
Well, I think the subject matter tonight for everyone, I mean, we put it in the show previews. We're going to talk a little bit about the Cypress District and some of that drama still out there, and report on some of the work that you've done trying to get a little bit of information. And then we're going to hit at the police jury a little bit and some of the things going on up there, right?
There are some shenanigans or hoarding. I'm not sure really how to put it. It could be hoarding I mean, look, I
Oh,
hate
are
to,
you are you
I hate,
saying this is Bozier's version of hoarders? Is that what you're
well,
saying?
maybe so. I mean, I hate to make fun of the way anybody keeps up their house, because I mean, you come by my house sometimes and the yard's not always cut nice and neat and manicured, because literally we live in a river bottom over here, so I have to cut around the thunderstorms. I mean, I've got boat and pickup truck and all that in my, well, not in my yard, but in my driveway. So anyway, I hate to, you know, pass judgment upon the manner in which somebody lives in their home, but I gotta say, considering whose home it is, um, it's just kind of interesting.
Well, I mean, if you're living, just by virtue of living, you're going to have stuff in your yard, stuff in your house. It's going to be a mess. I mean, you have to clean up, you got to maintain and take care of things. But I guess when you ain't maintaining and take care of things, maybe you're not living there. Maybe you're
Well,
not.
we'll get to it here in a minute, and don't want to reveal too much, but I guess when you're administrating lots of other things for folks, maybe you let your own stuff, go by the wayside a little bit. Maybe that's what it is. But we'll see here in a little bit, because we
Well,
have details.
I just wonder if the is it the which came first, the chicken or the egg? Is it the administrator's fault or the administrator's fault?
It could be either.
Yeah, we're playing some word salad here, guys.
Yeah, we appreciate all the comments and everybody letting us know that they're here. Sobo Live is here. Mr. Ronald J. Cheatham is also here. Thomas Shea is here. Val Baker, of course. Michael Ferris, and everybody else that's watching. Again, glad to have you. All right, so let's start. You want to start with the good news with the term limits? Let's lead off with that.
All
Let's lead
right,
off with something positive.
something positive. Let's not be negative. Yeah, I mean the people of Bossier City, they look. There, some people say, you know what? I don't fight government because you can't win. I don't fight it. It just there's no reason.
Well,
Well,
and look, that is true in a lot of cases. I'm not saying it is always true, and don't get disheartened, but in a lot of cases it can be very difficult.
yeah, no doubt. But I think in this case, I think this should be motivation for folks that, you know what, you can step up and do something. It should be proof. I think people should use it as an example that they can make something happen.
Well, looky there. Colonel Crockett is in the audience, and he is about to be one of the stars of the show tonight. Positively. Positively a star, or in positivity? I don't know. Anyway, let's jump right into it. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hit this video. There's no audio for the first couple of seconds. So we'll do our thing, pause in the video and talking our way through it, but it's kind of self-explanatory. Duke, when I hit this button, do you want to go ahead and kind of set the stage for where we're headed here?
Well, we are headed into City Hall, and the first stop, obviously, was we went to visit Phyllis in the City
Yeah.
Council chambers. But Phyllis was not home. So the
Ah,
next step was off to the mayor's office.
all right. Well, let's head up there and see what happens. Look at those guys walking in there. It's like they own the place. just walking right in. And I got to say, the mayor's office has a Ring doorbell there. That's kind of cool.
2,977.
Oh, look, there's Colonel
signatures.
Crockett. And
John Burns.
John Burns is right beside him. So, folks, this is where the audio is going to pick up. And so Colonel Crockett does a good job of kind of explaining this. So we're just going to let it roll. And we even get a visit from the mayor. So here we go.
Signature. Mayor, how you doing?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good.
Hey, Tommy, how are you? Good to see you.
How you doing? Nice to see you.
Hey, brother.
Mr.
You
Lowry,
can take
how you
a
doing?
picture of that.
Hello, Mr.
Hey,
Tom.
how's it going on?
Pretty good.
Good to see you.
We're not live, but I
All
am.
right, quick.
So,
That's okay. We did get we called down there to find out where Phyllis is. And she'll be back Wednesday.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's the best place to do is to give it to her.
well, what the reason that we wanted to talk to you about it, what happens is when we turn the petition in, we do have the number of signatures required, 2,977 signatures that are, and I think the requirement for it to be successful petition was 2,715. But this is the certification from the Bossier City Registrar of Voters, and the city has 30 days after this is turned in to either pass it in an ordinance. So it starts from the date that it's turned in, or not from it's turned in, but from the date that the registrar does it. So I don't know if you want to go ahead and have us turned into Mr. Jacobs, so at least you have it. You could start looking at it and coming up with your plan, but your 30-day clock is running, so.
And that is dated today?
That is dated today, from the registrar. So what's your choice, Mayor?
Well, we talked and he said that the best place to go is we called Jacobs and he said he's going to be down there to go to Phyllis down there with her. So,
And so
well, I know, yeah, that's too, but I know when it goes down to Phyllis, that day she'll let all the council members know that day.
it'd be nice to get it on the agenda and talk about it. Thanks.
I mean, because they have time to do that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if she's in Wednesday, we got everything in by Thursday afternoon.
Yeah.
For the next council.
For the next agenda.
Yeah.
But we'll send an email out to all the councilmen, let them know that what we've got, and probably info them a copy of that so everybody will be informed. So when Phyllis gets it, we'll be able to run hot.
All right, so I'm going to pause it right there for a second. So I got to give Tommy credit. He was very receptive to it. Of course, I've got some pictures that I can show here in a little bit. As a matter of fact, I'll go ahead and pull those up because we'll kind of go back in time for just a moment. Let's see here.
Well, while you're pulling, while you're doing that, the thing is, yeah, Tommy's going to be receptive to it because Tommy has been at odds with a council, and I'm not saying I'm on the same page on the issues with Tommy. I mean, I know that I'm on a different page on a lot of those issues, but from his standpoint as the mayor and trying to achieve things, the council has, been an impediment to him. So he is definitely going to be in favor of this because it would enable him to have possibly, if he's reelected, a council that maybe he feels like he could work with. That could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing.
That's true. All right, so we're stepping back in time. This was back on February the 16th when we had the public signing and kind of launch of the Bossier Term Limits Initiative. And so City Councilman at Large Chris Smith was, if I remember correctly, the first one to officially sign it. And so we want to give him credit. And then shortly behind him, let me see if I can drag that picture in there, was Brian Hammonds.
Yep.
And if I can make the pictures be still this evening. Let's see who else we have here. We had, I believe the lady's name, was it Mrs. Ross? Is that correct? She was representing the Democratic Party in Bossier Parish?
Yeah, they showed up that day.
All right, so,
I'm
bipartisan effort, we'll put it nicely.
Well, okay. I'm going to be nice. So all you Democrat folks, y'all might want to hold your hands over your ears because I'm not going to be nice. That was the only help that we got. The Democrat Party, they didn't step up. They said that they were going to step up, but they didn't step up, and they didn't help. And call me a liar. And if they want to call me a liar, I can show them the forms with the proof of the witness signatures of who collected and who didn't, and their promises
Well,
fell short. It didn't
and I got
happen.
to say, this is the picture, of course, of Tommy signing it with you and Colonel Crockett. And I got to say, you two guys did the vast majority of the footwork in all this.
Well, we did a lot, but I'm going to tell you, Colonel Crockett was a machine. Colonel Crockett, if he didn't get at least half, he got 3/4 of the signatures. And that guy, hat tip, the citizens of Bossier, owe a great deal to that man and the work that he put in. And I got to tell you, I appreciated working with him and the passion that he had for, just affecting change in government. I think in the long run, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Time will tell. But like Colonel Crockett, there was a lot of folks that did step up. John Burns, Ryan Haygood. Ryan Haygood got out and walked and collected a lot of signatures. My wife, my kids, you, Rex. I mean,
Well, I did one evening, but I got to say this: even the evening couple hours that you and I walked the neighborhood down there in South Bossier, I mean, it's a lot of walking, and it is a lot of work to get all those signatures. And uh, like you said, and Colonel Crockett, you're absolutely correct. It was a team effort, but you guys did the vast majority of the legwork. Did have a little help from others, so shout out to all of y'all. Speaking of you and your wife, I've got a
and it's
picture.
and it's
You may not have seen this one. Ooh, look at that.
boy, she dresses me up, doesn't she?
See, I'm trying to get you some brownie points tonight, Duke. You definitely married up, no doubt about it.
I did do that. I did do that. Well,
Also, oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was just going to say it's no small feat doing this thing. There is a lot of little details when you do a petition like this that you don't know about, especially with the signatures. For example, I mean, we had kind of calculated a loss percentage of signatures that we would have, but we had, like, we ended up, the final number was 2,970 something, and we actually had, I think, right at 3,400 total signatures. So we had a 400 and something signature loss, and it's not, in a lot of cases it was people who were registered to vote, but they allowed their voter registration to lapse. Little things like that.
Yeah, various things can happen and cause them to be removed from the official record. But we appreciate everybody that did sign up, and took the time out of their evenings or whatever to actually sign the petition. All right. And so showing a couple more pictures, there's, of course, Barry Butler and Senator Robert Mills, who's been getting some not so nice press lately from the good old boys. That's a whole other discussion. But Robert Mills did sign, was a stand-up guy, said he would sign it, and did come out and sign it. So that was always good.
Now I can't remember if Robert lived in the city or if he didn't, but that is another twist to this term limits thing, because it originally started in the Bossier Parish Republican Party. And, Robert Wright, I see Robert in the comments. Robert was in favor of it. Barry, that's where it started. And when this thing started, we were seeking term limits for the city and for the police jury. So this is only part of the job. There is a second step, or a second leg of this journey here. Now the leg of the police jury journey is a little bit different, and we have to go about it a little bit different way. And we don't have a time limit, like we had on the city term limit agenda. And
yeah, and we still do, the website is still live. I'm actually going to update it after the show in the coming days or next week or so. But we do still have a digital petition for the police jury that, just to be clear, is not an official signing document or anything that will be accepted by the police jury, but it is just indicating your support for term limits for the police jury and other elected officials for that matter. That's going to probably take some legislative action to bring forth. So anyway, we'll talk about that some more as time goes on. All right, let me switch back over to the video, and I may have to fast forward it. Let me see if it held our position here. Of course not. All right, so let me fast forward. All right, here we go. So this is officially submitting it.
Okay.
Well, we went up to the mayor's office and they suggested that turning in the petition to you would be fully acceptable.
Okay.
And so we didn't know that you were actually her assistant. So,
Yes, I am. I'm Amy Anna.
well, I'm Dave Crockett and this is Duke Lowry.
Duke Larry. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, so we'll show you what we're giving you.
Okay.
So basically, we have, Duke, I didn't mean to walk in front of you. This is a cover letter with Duke's and my signature that shows what the propositions are, and it gives a summary of what's in the city charter for how to do a term limits petition, or a petition in general. And this is a certification for from the registrar. And so what it does is it basically starts the 30-day clock that the city has to either approve this outright, or then they have 90 days. They have 90 days total to add it to the ballot for the next election that's coming up. So what we're doing is we'll turn it all in and leave it for you. And if you want to call Mr. Jacobs and hand it over to him to look at, anything, whatever your procedures are, we're we've done our work.
Okay. I sure will do that. On Wednesday, Miss Phyllis will be back.
Right.
And I'm sure she'll get the ball rolling for
There you go. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome, and it's nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet
Take
you.
care.
I gotta say, she was real cheerful.
She was. So what I would say, I want to just add something else to the citizens of Bossier. Here's what this means. So nobody that I know of or have heard of in the city of Bossier have ever exercised the provision within the Bossier City Charter to petition, to make an amendment to the charter, or, nobody's ever done it. So this is the first time. It has happened. So now the council has the option to adopt it, or if they don't adopt it, then it goes to they have to call an election, as the colonel, explained, within 90 days. So I don't know. I mean, it's speculation as to how the councilman would view and how they would vote on this. So I think that's a little bit of an interesting debate for everyone and to kind of think about. And if you're in Bossier City, maybe you could have the discussion with your councilman. 33%, or in excess of 33% of the electorate, in which, if we had more time, we could have collected a whole heck of a lot more signatures, no doubt. But, obviously Chris Smith and Brian Hammond signed it. They're going to, be in support of it. But Vince Maggio, he didn't sign it. David Montgomery, he didn't sign it. Bubba Williams didn't sign it. Darby didn't sign it. And Jeff Free didn't sign it.
And they were all notified and knew about it, correct?
They all knew about it. So, it stands to reason that those individuals are opposed to term limits. I'm guessing maybe they are. I don't know. I'm saying they are. But of all of those, the consequences here is that the only one that this term limits thing wouldn't affect would be Vince Maggio. Bubba, Darby, Free, and Montgomery, I mean, it would affect them. They would be done. So,
well, yeah, and let's pause right there for a second, because Proposition 1 of that petition is, shall term limits apply to all Bossier City councilmen, councilwomen, district and at large, where no person shall be eligible for election to the office for more than 3 terms, and that said term limits shall apply to all who have held the office, past and present. So that means immediately they would be term limited, correct?
That's correct. And hey, I want to point out, I did just see a post. I didn't mention Shane Cheatham. Shane did. He got a bunch of signatures as well too.
Yeah, I didn't mean to leave you out, Shane.
Yeah, sorry, Shane. It's been a long day. It's been hot. working in the rain, yeah,
And as a
you lose
matter of
more than
fact,
just hair.
yeah, that just reminded me. I had a picture and I had it ready of Shane signing the petition, and I didn't put it up there. As a matter of fact, I think he had just donated blood or something that day. I can't remember, but anyway, but
And
Shane did sign the petition too on the launch day back in February.
yeah, and if you helped out and got some signatures, and I didn't give you credit, my apologies. It wasn't intentional. The only ones that I intentionally pointed out were the ones that said they were going to help and didn't. Um,
All right, now, interestingly, it also applies to the mayor, correct?
That's right. And not necessarily. And when we're talking about the councilmen and the mayors, we're not talking about all of these people really individually. But this is any of the council seats as well as the mayor's. That office. But as it relates to Tommy Chandler, um, it would ultimately affect him, but it doesn't affect him immediately in the short term. This is retro, meaning that, if you've already served 3 terms, you're done. You're no longer qualified to run for that office. So, for example, we'll use Mayor Walker. If Mayor Walker wanted to come back and challenge Tommy, he couldn't because he's term limited. He had already been in there for 12 years.
Very interesting. All right. So what is, and you may have already mentioned this, but it's not super complicated, but there's a few little twists and turns to this. So what is the next step from here? The city council, has the petition and the signatures, and it's been certified by Stephanie's office. As a matter of fact, this is the certification letter from Stephanie Agee's office. So that it is official with the correct number of signatures, actually more than enough. But what is the next step from here? What does the city council do from here?
Well, the next step I would imagine is going to be that it's going to have to be put on the agenda at the council meeting, and they're going to have to at that point make a motion to adopt or not. And if they vote it down, then according to the charter, no matter what, they've got to send it to a vote of the people. And they know as well as anybody else, if it goes to a vote of the people, it's going to, it's going to pass. They know that. So the question becomes whether or not they choose to send it to the people and, waste the taxpayers' dollars or not. They may say, well, how can you know that? How can you know it'd be a waste? The people may vote it down. Well,
They might, but aren't the
I
stats
knocked on a
something
lot of
like?
these. Yeah, I knocked on a lot of these doors. It's going to pass.
Yeah, and I mean the national stats are something on the order of 70 or 80% of people support term limits, and all that. So it stands to reason that in one of the most conservative parishes, even though this is a bipartisan thing, that it would pass with flying colors.
Rex, and I want to stop you right there. It doesn't matter, conservative, libertarian, look, I would almost contend there were more Democrats signed our petition, or people, of a liberal philosophy signed our petition than maybe conservative folks. And the intriguing thing to me, and I know Colonel Crockett will attest to this, we heard the same thing at every door, regardless of who you talk to. They were all sick of government, and overwhelmingly, there's a funny thing to this. Almost every door, they were like, "I wish we could get this in Washington." Everybody, they were all saying it, libertarians alike.
Right.
And uh, and then, but then there was a couple of people that were really genius. They were really genius. As we explained it to them and how this worked, so let me get this straight. You're telling me that if I wanted to get a petition together here in Bossier to legalize smoking weed, if I could get 2,700 signatures, I can make it legal in Bossier?
Well, something about that state and federal law superseding, but there's a lot of gray area there now, so I guess the answer will be yes.
I got to tell you, I had a big old chuckle out of that one.
All right, so the good news is 2,977 signatures were accepted and certified. That was more than enough. Only had to get 2,715. So it's obvious that people are interested in this. This could potentially change the dynamics of Bossier politics for many years to come. Is that a fair assessment?
Okay, think about this, folks. I mean, there's, about 75 to 80 something people total watching the show here. When this goes into effect, and I don't think that it's I don't think there's any way out of this. I think it goes into effect. I don't think they can escape it. So what this would automatically do, you're only going to have 3 councilmen that can return to the council: Chris Smith, Brian Hammonds, and Vince Maggio. That's it. So you're going to have 4 vacancies right out of the gate.
Very interesting. So it's definitely, whether it passes by, by the city council passing it, or whether it passes by going to the ballot box, it's absolutely going to change the dynamics of Bossier politics. No doubt about it.
Without a doubt. Without
All
a
right.
doubt. No question asked.
So I would be remiss. Hold on just a second here, because I failed to do it. I am going to, let's see, let me drag and drop that. And let's hit publish. And there we go. There. See, Shane did sign it. I had his picture ready and I just failed to drop it in. Sorry, Shane.
He did. He did.
He did sign it. He was, one of the guys that spearheaded it, or helped spearhead it anyway. So, all right. Enough about term limits, unless y'all have some more questions. And we appreciate all the commentary. Mike Collier says it is more than obvious that term limits will pass by the people. No doubt. All right. What is next on our agenda to talk about? Shall we talk about a little lawyer billing?
That won't take a long, long time, because it's pretty simple. It's lawyers just bill for whatever they want to bill.
Yes, they just get to do whatever they want. That pretty much.
As long as they can keep billing, that's the main thing.
All right, so let me switch screens. Won't take but just a second here. Let's see.
I think people are going to find this offensive. I do, because I got to tell you that, when you were doing these requests, and I was seeing the responses coming back by email, and I was looking at them. I mean, I didn't say nothing to you, but I was looking at them. I got to tell you, it disgusted me.
Well, I hate to say it, but not that I'm a soothsayer. I knew what the response was going to be because I've been down this path before. All right, so let me set this up live, and it is. You're right. I mean, there's no better way to put it than it's kind of disgusting. So here is the official public information request, which, according to the Cypress District, needs to go to Shelley. She's the really nice secretary. I don't know what her official title is, but she's the one that takes the minutes and records the meetings as well, and she's always been very helpful. But of course, she forwards all these to guess who? The Ayres Law Firm. So every time you make a public information request to the Cypress District, or we do, it literally costs us more taxpayer money that goes to the Caddo Parish Law Firm of Ayres, Shelton, and whatever the rest of their name is. All right, but here it is. So we requested a detailed, itemized record or summary of all legal expenses and billing incurred by the Cypress District in the case of Robert Berry and the Bossier Parish District Attorney. Same deal with the Louisiana Attorney General, and same deal, because there's been some movement with the Louisiana Board of Ethics, a detailed, itemized summary or summary of all legal expenses between Robert Berry and the Louisiana Board of Ethics. Well,
so you're wanting to know, I mean, the hours for a paralegal, the hours for one attorney or 2 attorneys or 3 attorneys.
What is Robert Berry costing in these lawsuits? It's pretty simple.
How many people watching the show have had to have an attorney and had, you've been billed for their services? I mean, I'm not saying attorneys shouldn't
Yeah,
be bill. Not saying
right,
that at all.
right.
But how many of you, you get your bill and you don't ask any questions. You don't, know what you're paying for.
I mean, the little bit that I've had to deal with attorneys and all that, no different than when I do tech stuff for people and they ask, okay, what's this charge for and all that. I'm more than happy to itemize that out or discuss it with them. And I do the same thing for whether it's an attorney or a plumber or anybody else that I hire. Attorneys are not gods. They're other people that you hire to do services.
Whoa, hang on a minute. Wait a minute. You said attorneys are not gods. I mean, we're in Bossier Parish, Rex.
Well, okay. They may think they're gods.
Okay.
Something about golden cows and false idols, or I don't know. But anyway.
That's more like it. That's more like, because I'm going to tell you, I know a lot of them. They dang sure think they're gods and goddesses.
Now, I will say that there is a maximum per hour rate that they can bill according to the Attorney General. And I forget, but I want to say it's around 175 to 185 an hour. So it's less than what their normal billing rate is. And then there's also a specified amount. I may be incorrect in that number, but I'm pretty close, I think. And then there's also a reduced amount for paralegal billing, so on and so forth, that they can do per the Attorney General.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. You're probably right. The number, we don't have to be exact on it. So anyway, here's the $1 million question, Rex.
Mm-hmm.
So how many hours for the attorney and how many hours for the paralegal did they bill the Cypress District?
You want to venture a wild guess?
I don't know. Any of our viewers, do y'all want to guess how many hours, Ayres Law Firm is billing the Cypress District? How many?
Molly Jackson Burt says, I always ask because they always have a BS answer. Well, you're fixing to be, it's going to be a toss up between dazzled with brilliance or baffled with BS. I'll let y'all make the call on that. Let's see. Greg Bell says, not with family law. They go up to $300 in a heartbeat. Renee says, I think it's $185. I think you're correct, Renee. All right. So drum roll, please. Here is the official response. Rex and Duke. Let me enlarge this a little bit. Blah, 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 blah. By way of explanation, the legal services provided by our firm are not broken down and or invoiced by the individual matters set forth in your request. Instead, our firm invoices and bills the district on a monthly basis for all legal services provided. In other words, they just bill them for whatever and nobody questions anything.
Okay, so how many hours?
Well, I don't know. They didn't say.
Well, what do you mean they didn't say? Well,
they didn't say at all. You see all that. It's either dazzlingly brilliant or bafflingly full of bullshit, and I'll let you make the call.
So wait a minute. They just send the bill over and we just pay it.
I guess so. Now, Julie Ferris says, so they are on retainer. Well, maybe so. It's probably a pretty big retainer. Matter of fact, rather large retainer compared to what they usually bill because we've published the numbers before. And, I'll give Shelley credit. She's very forthcoming in getting the financials over to us, in a pretty timely manner usually. And, the Ayres Law Firm usually makes between $200,000 and $300,000 a year of your taxpayer dollars. Literally, Duke, you and the other property owners around the lake, y'all are just paying for the lawyers.
Well, I'm not the only one. Freaking everybody in this parish, 80-something% or whatever, are paying it too. It's not just me.
Well, true, but
I'm paying more though.
But the property owner fees amount to around $250-ish, $300,000 a year in revenue for the Cypress District. Y'all are literally, by paying those fees, in essence, paying the heirs.
Well, you could look at it that way, but I prefer to think that, my landowner fees are paying for Robert Berry to be able to manage all the cabins over there when the park shut down after hours. Because it's not to managing the no wake zone buoys on Black Bayou, because frankly, I've never seen Robert Berry on Black Bayou Lake. I don't know why they call it Cypress Black Bayou. They should just call it Cypress Park, the domain or the kingdom of Robert Berry is what they should call it, or some crap like that.
D.D. White Clark's the kingdom. D.D. White Clark says having them on retainer is one thing. However, services rendered should be itemized. That's fraudulent, in my opinion, to not itemize services. Well, here's the irony of that, D.D. You would have to sue them to prove that. And guess what? They're going to bill to defend themselves in the district. I mean, they've literally got a cash cow sitting there. That's what we've been screaming to the top of the rafters for the past several years. Us and a lot of other folks.
And to all of you watching, who do y'all think has been enabling all of this? Who lets this go on?
They have a lawyer on the commission now, on the district, Kelly Long. She's a lawyer, and she lets all these shenanigans go on.
Oh, wait a minute. You're talking about the lawyer who has a suite with the judge in Benton, right? Out at the racetrack?
Well, that's what we've heard.
Oh, that's right. Oh, and wait a minute, who else is on the board? We've got
You talking about Mr. Timid Walt Bigby, or we're talking about the jackass Gary Weish?
Well,
I'm just full of names.
I wasn't going to go on the jackass, but I was going to talk about, I mean, maybe he's bucking for his own statue. I don't know.
There's no time. Look, they should just put Lee Ayres and Alex Vizella on the commission and be done with it.
To my bride, I want to correct you. You said the board lets it go on. No, the police jury, everyone who appoints these folks out here to that board, they're the ones that allow this to go on. In the case of the city of Bossier, that would be none other than Queen David has enabled his best friend or friend, Walt Bigby, to be on that board to allow the activities that have took place out there. To the residents of Benton, you're not off the hook. You have an appointee out there. Your mayor and your city council out there appointed Gary Weish. They have enabled this out to go on out there. And the most egregious one of all is the police jury. The police jury is the most egregious one. Robert Berry himself, the dual office holder, which now they're thumbing the nose at the Supreme Court saying, oh, screw you. We're just going to truck right along and, we're going to write a letter to the police jury to reappoint him.
Yeah. And we'll see how, by the way, I think everybody, Renee, you can correct me, but I think all the resumes or whatever, the people wanting to, that are clamoring to get Robert Berry's job out there had to have their resumes or whatever, applications in, well, I don't know, whatever, by July the 1st, I think. So it'll be interesting to see when the, police jury makes a decision on that. Maybe the next meeting, which would be a week from today? That could be interesting.
I don't know, but you folks need to realize that, a lot of your elected officials that you have today have known and enabled all of the things that are taking place, and coming to light, especially at the Cypress District. And that's just one example. And the police jury, in my opinion, is, they own the most responsibility of it.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. We've been screaming to the rooftops about this. Y'all know that. You watch the show. We've been sending out emails, letters. So have a lot of other people as well, and folks that live around the lake, folks that don't live around the lake. I mean, they all know what's going on. They just turn a blind eye. All right.
But Rex, look, this is just one place where, that the police jury's dropped the ball and not done the public's work, as one, is it police? How do you say when it's a female police juror? No, as a female, it's got to be
female police juror.
Okay, well, female police juror. Yeah, let's just say that. Well, as she told me, I'm not going to talk about my friends. I'm not going to, I thought you served the public. I didn't know that you served your, compadres, in an elected capacity. I thought you were elected to serve the public. And, it's one thing on the Cypress District to say, hey, you didn't know. And, I would contend that, they've enabled breaking the law. But what about some others? I mean, are we just being, picky here, Rex? I mean, just are we crossing the line? Is there more maybe out there?
You mean more stuff involving the police jury?
Yeah. I mean, come
Well,
on.
sure, we can just skip right over to another lake, Lake Bistineau, as a matter of fact. Did you know that
Oh,
there is some controversy going on at Lake Bistineau, and it's not Bigfoot?
I did not
It's
know.
not it's not
Jeez,
giant salvinia either. That
you're
noxious
kidding.
weed. No. Although this, oddly enough, does have some kind of weeds growing up around it, what we're fixing to show here, but
Oh, wait a minute. Is there a gate?
there is a gate involved.
Oh, so this is something going on in a gated community. So people are definitely, if it's a gated community, somebody's going to have their panties in a wad.
Well, I don't know about community, but anyway, so that
What
brings
kind
us.
of what kind of gated community do they have out there on Bistineau? I mean, I grew up out there. I don't remember that.
I didn't say it was a gated community.
Oh,
Although the person that lives there, I guess you could say, is a community servant of sorts, but it's just up in the air whether it's Caddo Parish or Bossier Parish.
I don't know. I gotta ask. Well, what public servant are we talking about in a gated community on Lake Bistineau?
Well, it would be none other than Mr. Butch Ford. Now, we've talked about Butch Ford before. There's been a lot of reporting about Butch Ford. As a matter of fact, our friend Jeff Sadow just published an article. Thank you. We're happy to send you that information, Jeff. So we appreciate you getting the word out there. And he's been on Butch Ford's rear end as well as several others. But yeah, we got to talk about Butch again.
Yeah. So let's rewind here a little bit. So the deal was he lived in Caddo Parish and he had homestead exemption there, and he voted in Caddo Parish like pretty much all of his life, right? Wasn't that the case?
I think, as I remember, yes.
And then when the parish administrator position came available, I done triggered somebody.
Oh, that was
Um,
fast.
yeah, that didn't take long. So when the parish administrator thing came along, had to be a resident of Bossier Parish to be able to. I think that's in the state law. Well,
As best I can recollect, it is, and from reading and digging into this. But what was the problem with that? I mean, wasn't Butch? He was the only guy that the police jury was worried about being administrator. Why can't they just appoint him administrator? What the heck with the law?
Well, yeah. So our numbers around 100 folks watching now. I'm wondering, surely out of 100 people watching this show right now, surely one of y'all submitted an application to be the parish administrator. Surely didn't somebody see the advertisement for the opening? Did anybody see it and submit an application?
Let's see. Where's that? Do I have that little? Yeah, I got that sound effect. Hold on. Oh, that's crickets chirping.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. False alarm here. That's right. There was no advertisement. Nobody even got a chance to apply for that position. It was going to be none other than one person. Now, surely, Rex, surely the police jury, I mean, they get accused. We've accused them of being lawless. I mean, Jeff Sadow even said they were lawless. I mean, surely, and they've got an attorney on there. I mean,
Oh yeah, what's her name? Juliana something? Juliana Parks. Oh, her husband's like a judge too.
I mean, you said earlier. I mean, they're gods, right?
Well,
The
they
attorneys,
think they are.
the attorneys are gods. Surely she would have followed the law and checked that he met the qualifications. I mean, remember the little library lady, and what was her name, Miss Logan?
Yeah,
The
they
law's
picked
the
on
law.
the library lady. That's
We
right.
follow the law here.
They
law and
always
order.
follow the law. Yeah, who said that? Was it Doug Rimmer that said that?
No, I think it was that's right. It was Doug Rimmer.
I think it was Doug Rimmer, our old friend taxman Doug Rimmer. They always follow the law. And look, they've got an attorney right there from the DA's office, Patrick Jackson. I mean, he's so brilliant. he needs to check and make sure that the Attorney General is not wrong.
Yeah, we got to see if the Attorney General's correct or incorrect. So we
Yeah.
filed a lawsuit up here. And
Right.
we didn't invite the Attorney General to play along with us, but he found out about it and he showed up. And ultimately, guess what? The Louisiana Supreme Court, the highest law in Louisiana, said, you know what?
Might want to rethink that, boys.
Yeah, you might want to rethink that. But they had an attorney on the council. Surely she, looked out after her constituents to make sure we were following the law. Surely she considered that, right?
Well, are you talking about your good friend Juliana Parks, who was also on the Republican Executive Committee, as a matter of fact? I mean, where do we go from here? I mean, we've talked about this, we've reported on this kind of stuff, and nobody, either they don't take notice of it, they don't think anybody cares. I don't know what the whole deal is, but apparently it is a bunch of lawlessness going on.
Well, I mean, and I hate it. I mean, I saw one of the police jurymen at breakfast the other morning. He came over, was nice, shook my hand, and I appreciated him being nice. I don't know a lot of times whether they're going to come over and break my jaw or what, but the truth of the matter is, why did you do this? Why are you allowing lawlessness? And in this particular case, I think this goes beyond lawlessness here.
Well,
you want to explain why I'm saying that? I mean, I think that was where you were fixing to go.
Yeah. So here's the deal. We got a Proton Mail tip, got a message that we needed to look a little further into Butch Ford. That, as Ricky Ricardo said, got some splaining to do, that some things weren't adding up. And I think some other people may have mentioned it, but it didn't really go anywhere because everybody assumed that, Butch Ford fixed the situation. I mean, you're right. Jeff Sadow did some reporting on it. He even called into question Stephanie Agee in the Registrar of Voters office because I think legally she was supposed to call him in and question, whether he was supposed to be voting in Bossier Parish because of his homestead exemption and all that was going on. Anyway, and so it just kind of rocked along there. Well, fast forward, we get a message recently. It was about July. Heck, I think it was first part of July, right before July the 4th. Anyway, that we need to check into this and might need to send an information request over to the tax assessor's office because there's some more shenanigans going on. And so we did send a public information request over to the tax assessor's office, and to their credit, they were very responsive. And, it was shortly after the 4th or whatever, they sent this information over, and so here we go. So this isn't our innuendo. I mean, we're going to put, give our opinion on all this as well, but these are the facts as they stand right now. So right here on page 1, we see the tax assessment report, and we see it's for Joe Edward Ford Jr., Butch Ford, and his wife Sally, showing a physical address of 1255 Parish Camp Road in Elm Grove, which is right down there by Bistineau. And it shows the assessed value and blah, 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 and the legal description of it and all that. Not a big deal, right? Nothing wrong with that so far.
Seems legit.
Seems legit. So now we move into the next part of this, which is the, whatever you call the official document here. But anyway, property description. And notice right here, I've highlighted in yellow, do you reside on the property described above, which is that same property that they're claiming the homestead exemption, which is out at Lake Bistineau. And the checkbox is yes. And it is signed by Butch Ford here. All right. So, okay. I'm greatly simplifying it, but he got caught with a cattle residence and all that. Okay, so they bought some property or acquired some property and acquired a house out at Bistineau and moved over there, right? Nothing wrong with that. He's trying to fix the situation and not be as lawless as he had been in the past, correct? I mean, that's what you would think.
That's what you think. I mean, he's trying to rectify the wrong, so he's moving from Caddo, moving to Bossier on a piece of property that they owned, apparently.
Okay, so here we go. And you can go look this up on, Google Maps or whatever. All right, let's move on down. Now we run into a little bit of trouble here. So this is a letter from the tax assessor's office, Bobby Edmonston's office, on May the 16th of this year. All right. To Butch Ford and his wife, Sally, in reference to their homestead exemption at 1255 Parish Camp Road. It says, Dear Mr. and Mrs. Ford, for those of you that are listening to the podcast, I'll read it. For the past several weeks, our office has been conducting our annual review of homestead exemptions. I had no idea that they reviewed homestead exemption status. During this review, it was discovered that you do not appear to reside at the residence you are claiming homestead exemption. Uh-oh. The Louisiana Constitution sets out the guidelines for receiving a homestead exemption in Article 7, Section 20. And even more interesting, the next paragraph says, we will be removing the homestead exemption on June the 5th of 2023 for the tax year 2023. Since the homestead was just applied for in late 2022, we will also be removing the homestead exemption for tax year 2022 through a change order with the Tax Commission. This will generate a new tax bill for tax year 2022. This is where they start a tit for tat here. Should you believe that you do indeed qualify for homestead exemption for the stated property, you have from the receipt of this letter until the date stated above to prove your claim. If your case has not been resolved by that date, the homestead exemption will be removed. At that time, we will also notify any state and local governing authorities that may apply.
Now wait, before you move on, scroll back up.
Mm-hmm.
The very first sentence.
Mm-hmm.
For the past several weeks.
Weeks. Not like they went out there one day and Butch and Sally weren't home and they said, oh, well, they must not live here. By reading this, I don't think that's the case.
So you caught that too. Okay,
yes.
Keep going.
Yeah. All right. All right, so let's see, that letter was, because I don't have the notes in front of me, that letter was May the 16th. So May the 31st, a letter from Butch Ford to the assessor's office. Dear Bossier Parish Assessor, blah, blah, blah. Hope this letter finds you well. I understand. I'm writing this letter in connection to my domicile and homestead status. As you know, I am a professional engineer registered in Bossier Parish. Oh, well, that must mean that he lives in Bossier Parish. He's a registered engineer in Bossier Parish, as if that really actually matters for this. I've been a resident since October 22nd of 2022 and property owner in Bossier Parish since 1986. And as such, I am entitled to the homestead exemption under Louisiana law. Entitled.
That's interesting that he would say he's entitled. Okay. Maybe one of the gods up there has told him, hey, look, you're entitled.
Right. Now, Val Baker in the comments says he lives at his daddy's house. Well, interesting you should say that, Val. We'll let you make that judgment call after we get through with this paperwork here. All right, so back to the letter. Butch Ford says, I understand, second paragraph, I understand from your letter that it is an effort by your office to remove my homestead exemption in Bossier Parish. Given the facts of my case, such actions would contradict relevant Louisiana laws and statutes that outline the qualifications for homestead exemption. In accordance with Louisiana Constitution Article, 7, Section 20, a homeowner is entitled to a homestead exemption if the property is their permanent residence. All right, y'all make a mental note of that, permanent residence. Further, the Louisiana Civil Code Article 42 outlines the law of domicile in Louisiana, stating the domicile of an individual is his principal establishment. Going to highlight that there too as well. I made clear declarations and demonstrated action supporting my domicile in Bossier Parish. These are as follows. Bullet point number 1. I reside at this property in Bossier Parish and maintain no other primary residence outside of this parish. Now, I've highlighted that because that's the most important. The rest of it's just fluff and BS.
Well, Rex, I'm sitting here reading this and I'm listening to you read it. And I'm saying to myself, okay, so you got the tax assessor that's revoking his claimed homestead exemption. I mean, which is no small thing. And you've got the parish administrator saying, hey, this is my residence. I am domiciled here. You know, you need to acknowledge it. So I'm just saying you got two folks here. Who do you believe? Do you believe the guy that took the job that had to know? You can't make me believe that he didn't know, and you can't make me believe that the police jury and their godly attorneys didn't know that it's required for you to be a resident of Bossier Parish, but he wasn't when they made him the parish administrator. I mean, so who do you believe? Do you believe the tax assessor or do you believe the parish administrator? Just
Well,
on that alone.
so our good friend and former police juror Barry Butler says Patrick probably wrote the letter. Molly Jackson's asking, is he the owner? And we have some more information in from good friend Greg Bell. Says in September 2001, his daddy and mom donated the property to Butch and Sally. In 2008, he did lease the property to Ashley Ann Energy. And in 2013, he got a second mortgage on that property. So just to be clear, some more facts surrounding this. All right. But moving on, like I said, the rest of these bullet points, all of his professional associations for his professional engineering license, register my Bossier Parish address is my address of record. That doesn't matter. I'm no lawyer, but that doesn't matter according to the law.
Well, he took a second mortgage on the property. I mean, surely that means he lives there.
Well, page 2, or the next page of that letter. So in light of these circumstances, I have executed, this is great, I have executed a declaration of domicile affirming my intent to maintain Bossier Parish as my principal and permanent establishment. This declaration has been filed with the Clerk of Court's office in Bossier Parish and is now a matter of public record. That's right, folks. You can request that from the Clerk of Courts or go on the Clerk Connect and pay the fee and get the record.
So you're telling me that the parish administrator went a step further, made a declaration, filed an official document in the courthouse records for all the world to see saying, I'm living here. And then you're also telling me that the tax assessor is saying, you don't live here.
I'm not telling you. I'm literally showing you. Yes, you are correct.
I mean, doesn't that, I hate to use the word here, anybody watching the show, I mean, but does it not sound like a fraud to you?
Well, look, here's what we're going by. This is a public information request to the tax assessor's office. These are official documents, or copies of the official documents. We're not making this up. This isn't just some Joe Blow sent it to us. We got a notice of it, a message about it, and sent the information request in. We're literally, we're ad-libbing a little bit here, but we're literally reading from Butch Ford's signed document that is filed at the Clerk of Court's office in Bossier Parish.
So he said he lives in the parish, filed his homestead exemption. Okay, and then everybody's happy. It's going away, which even back then we talked about it. We thought it was shady. Sadow even talked about it. He thought it was sketchy, but then apparently the tax assessor actually investigated, determined that, wait a minute, no, you're not living there after weeks of investigation. And then Butch Ford doubles down after this and
Double dog dare you, Bobby. Show me the proof that I ain't living there.
double dog dare you.
Double dog. Because look, it says right here, the next paragraph, given these facts and the absence of any contrary evidence. In other words, all right, Bobby, show your cards. I kindly request your office to acknowledge my domicile status in Bossier Parish, because he literally said he was entitled to it, right? And discontinue any efforts to remove my homestead exemption. How dare you try to remove my homestead exemption? I said that I live there. I'm a registered engineer and I have my mail sent to that address. That makes it my residence, domicile, whatever.
Bobby apparently did not get the memo that he's entitled.
I guess not.
They got his email spelled wrong or something. He just didn't get it. Apparently.
Now hold on. Not only did he double dog dare him, he triple dog dares him, because in the next paragraph, in accordance with Louisiana Civil Code Article 44, which outlines a challenge to domicile, I request your office, if you believe otherwise, to provide evidence to the contrary. If no such evidence is provided, I trust this matter will be promptly resolved in my favor as a good old boy.
Good for Butch. He called him out. So
that's right.
So what happened?
Play the good old boy card.
He called him out. You call the tax assessor out. You call him out.
All right. So we'll start the drum roll here in just a second. This is a copy of the Declaration of Domicile. I've highlighted that again. Butch says, well, number one, he's of sound mind and legal age. That might be a little debatable right now in light of this, but he says, my permanent and primary residence is 1255 Parish Camp Road, Elm Grove, Louisiana, and I intend to continue it indefinitely as my permanent and principal home. I have lived at the above described location since October 21st of 2022. And then the rest of it, some, fluff. All right. So, June 7th, Bobby responds. Unfortunately, it does not constitute proof that you are indeed occupying the above property. That's pretty much it. As stated, the homestead exemption will be removed from the property.
Yeah, okay. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day. Thanks for playing. Okay. So, here we go, June 13th. Butch sends a letter back. Dear Mr. Edmonston, I received your denial of my homestead exemption. Please provide all the facts and law upon which you based your decision. If there is some other process which I have failed to follow, I don't want to give it away just yet. There's definitely a process he failed to follow. We'll get to that in a moment. All right. To appeal your findings with your office, please notify me immediately. June 19th, Bobby's office sends an email to Jeffrey Gilmore at the Secretary of State, and says, as I have explained, we have removed the homestead exemption for Joe Edward Ford Jr. at 1255 Parish Camp Road, Elm Grove, Louisiana. Attached are the following, the stuff that we just went through. Call if you have any questions. Bobby Edmonston. And here we go, folks. All right. So I want everybody watching. These are the pictures from the tax assessor's office. And I want you to look at these pictures and look at the dates on these pictures and tell me what you think. Is Butch correct, or is Bobby's office correct? Is the tax assessor's office correct? Here we go. So here is a picture, obviously, through the window. It's dated May the 4th of 2023.
Man, I can tell you right now, ain't nobody living there. You know why?
Why?
Look at them deer.
What, they're not on the wall? Maybe he was rearranging. Maybe they were redecorating. Maybe they were remodeling.
No, wait a minute. Look at them deer. You telling me a parish administrator is going to have nothing but those little scrawny deer at his residence?
Not just that. I didn't even notice till you said something. Look at the hide coming off the noses.
Parish administrator ain't going to have them little scrawny deer. He's going to have big old he gonna have a 30-point buck hanging on his wall. You think all these contracting firms ain't gonna took him on a deer hunt? Heck,
Well,
no.
look, they've got some disinfecting wipes out there, though. But, again, I don't want to talk about how anybody's house, we all need to do upkeep on our house, but does this look like they're living there? And not just that. Whoops, let's go to the next picture.
Wait a minute.
So maybe that's the guest room.
Well, I mean, the tote, the tote in the middle of the floor, that's probably so you can prop your feet up there. I mean, and look, you never know if you're sitting in that recliner right there. You got your fork, spoon, and knife utensil holder there on the floor. You need to keep it close just in case as you're eating your potluck lunch or whatever,
I don't know. Molly Jackson Burt says, looks like he owns the Grassy Knoll Circle, Shreveport to me. I think he still does actually own that. Greg Bell says, I see Sally Ford's fancy washroom.
I mean, I'm just saying, is that the way they live in Ellerby? You telling me that you're going to leave Ellerby to go and live like this?
I don't know. Maybe so. Michael Ferris says, maybe that's a storage shack. Maybe it is, Michael. Maybe it is.
Look, I don't know. I don't know that you can go from living in Ellerby, out there to going and living out here on Bissano and living like this. I don't know. I can't wrap my head around it. Can y'all?
I don't know. Val Baker, look, there's the answer right there. Must be squatters. And the squatters have to be living out there with Butch and Sally because they've declared that that's their primary residence.
Well,
that's where they're living.
I've got a perfect explanation. If you look right there at the left in that picture, you see the studs in the frame there. They're remodeling. They're moving things around.
Yeah, okay. Maybe so. Maybe we're just not getting a big enough picture here. Oh, well, there's the outside of the shack. And again, we didn't take these pictures. This is from the tax assessor's office.
Look, so the lawn people hadn't come and took care of business out there. Okay, I don't prove nothing. I mean,
Barry said maybe she kicked him out. That's a good point, Barry. Maybe he's got a bachelor pad going on out there.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to draw the line right there. I mean, why would he do that when he could just go to the Cypress District out there? Robert Barry hook him up on a cabin, no problem.
Right, quick like. Well, that's a little better shot. I mean, so it needs some, work on the outside tiles and needs the lawn cut. But look, his lawn's not in any worse shape than mine right now. Does that look like they're living out there to y'all?
Nah, that one right there, the grass is mowed. It's kept up. I mean, if you're living somewhere, you're going to keep up the grass like you said you were keeping up your grass at your house. But hey, I got to tell you, there was a little bit of dialogue in one of the messages, and that somebody said that this property, and maybe some of our sleuths that send us some information can track this down and send it to us. But there was somebody that said that allegedly an engineering firm in Bossier Parish formerly owned part of this property. They were partners in it. And I don't know if that's accurate or inaccurate, but then they did something to give it all to Butch Ford. Did you hear that, Rex?
Look, it could be the case, but it's still, and that's very interesting stuff. There's the entrance to the property, I guess, out there on Parish Camp Road.
Let me guess. This is our gated community.
That's the gate. And look, they've got some improving to do. Maybe they're going to put a new gate up. I'm trying to give Butch the benefit of the doubt. Butch is a nice guy.
Look, I grew up in Halton, and back in the day, I mean, that would have been a respectable gate. I mean,
maybe they don't want the front entrance to look too good. And look, maybe Barry's onto something. Sally kicked him out. He's out there in the bachelor pad at the camp house at the lake, sleeping in a sleeping bag or a fold-up cot or whatever. I don't know. I'm just telling you what we see here. And in full disclosure, I know I haven't been out there to this property to look at it. I haven't flown my drone out there or anything like that. Duke, have you actually been out there?
Well, I do have to admit, I have been out there.
Oh, now this has got me intrigued.
You called me out live on the show. Actually, I was working a well out there around December, November of last year and was going by this property every single day. And I got to tell you, I never saw any activity out there.
Oh, well,
I
okay.
didn't. I was looking, but
Look, I think Greg Bell's onto something. Now we know why the house is in the shape that it is. Greg Bell called us out. He said, "You two still keep missing his beer keg by the steps. Shame on us. We should have caught this beer keg right
yes.
here."
Wait a minute.
Sorry, Greg.
But I'm going to call Greg out. I mean, what bachelor is going to have a beer keg there without a barbecue pit?
I wonder if it's Bud Light.
I'm just saying. There's no barbecue pit.
Where are they doing the pig roast? All right. So that's the deal, folks. I mean,
David Crockett, and here's where I want to segue. David Crockett says, our police jury knows he is stretching the truth. At what point do you stop trusting your jurors? And that is what I want to focus on. If we started out going into this segment talking about the lawlessness of the Cypress District and that the police jury is the worst offender in having allowed the lawlessness to go on at the Cypress District. They enabled it. Here we are again. You've got another case of which appears to be lawlessness, and you can't tell me that your police jurors, just like what David Crockett is saying here, I do not believe that they didn't know. And I mean, one of them's what do they call them? A something of the court. They're supposed to be like
officer of the court or whatever.
Yeah, officer of the court. She's a police juror. She's an officer of the court.
Well, Julie Ferris brings up a great question. So now what?
Well,
I mean, Bobby's office, the Bossier Parish Tax Assessor's office, has removed, unless something's changed in the couple of days since we've received this information, they have removed his homestead exemption, have stated it does not constitute proof that you are indeed occupying the above property. It doesn't appear from the photos that anybody is occupying that property. And so Julie brings up a good question. So now what? What do they do? Is the police jury just going to ignore it like they do the Robert Berry stuff? I mean, they could. What the heck with the law?
Yeah, to all of y'all watching, your elected officials, they probably are just going to ignore it, because why should they do anything? Because what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're not going to do anything.
Barry Butler says all of them took an oath of office to uphold the laws of Louisiana. That's true, Barry, but how do you challenge them? You got to file a lawsuit? What, is the state police just going to show up to the next police jury meeting and escort Butch out of there because he doesn't appear to be occupying the property? I mean, literally, what's the recourse for this? I hadn't looked close enough at the statutes to see if there really is any. I mean, I would argue that if Bobby's office is correct, the tax assessor's office is correct that he is not occupying that property, I think you kind of hit on it, Duke. I mean, is this fraud, filing false documents? I mean, where does this go?
Yeah, at what point do any of your elected officials have any accountability? Because as it stands right now, and you can't tell me, I won't believe for 1 minute, not every single police juror, just like in the Robert Berry case, they've all known, what's going on with Robert Berry. You can't tell me that they don't know what's going on with Butch Ford. And, they take an oath to uphold the Constitution and the laws of the state of Louisiana, and, to not address these kinds of things and to enable these things that makes them an accomplice to it. And I mean, look, I'll say it this way. I liked Juliana Parks. I really did. But I think I saw real quick that she's no different than any of the other politicians. It was all talk. And when she said that, she's going to uphold things. Where is she at on this? She's not said a thing. It's go along to get along, and she should be challenged, and every single person on that police jury should be challenged. Every single one of them.
I agree. If we keep letting them get by with the little stuff, then it just emboldens them to get by with the bigger stuff. And unless we really challenge them at the meetings, challenge them by emailing them, writing them, watching the show, sharing our show out, sharing this information out, running for office.
Rex, people have got to start stepping up to the plate. That's the problem. It's just like that term limits thing. Oh, you can't do nothing. You can't do nothing. Bull crap. We did something. There's your example. You can do something. And
Right.
to all of you watching, I mean, these people that are going to run, Michael Ferris, look, you're right here on our show. You support this show. We appreciate that and respect that. But I'm telling you right now, you run in that office, you've got an obligation to do what your elected officials right now are not doing, because what you're running to say, I'm different and I'm going to do something. And that's what every politician, I'm not just picking on you, Michael, but every politician says, vote for me, I'm going to do something. And they get in there and they don't get in there and they don't stand up. They go along to get along.
I can think of one police juror that did that exact thing.
That's right. But what we need is people to get in there and have a mind of their own, not to become part of the collective. It's like they go up there, and how many people are trekkers? They become a part of the Borg. They're assimilated.
Yes, they do. They become a part of the good old boy network at whatever level. Now, Julie Ferris, she's got a good point. She says she guesses she'll run for District 2 since she doesn't have to actually live there. Good point.
That is exactly what I thought, because I got to tell you, when they enabled Butch Ford, and look, there was a similar shenanigan done in the state central committee or state central or RPEC race, where they brought one of the Cypress district members to run against Mike Collier.
Yeah.
Have to be a Republican, I forget how many days, but it wasn't one day before qualifying. This cat goes and changes his party affiliation one day before qualifying to run against Mike Collier. It ends up going to court up there. And oh, by the way, not Kelly Long, I'm sorry. Ron Machota represents the guy, and Kelly Long's sweet partner rules in favor that he can run, when clearly the law says that he has to have been qualified as a Republican for a long time before that. The shenanigans are endless, and we need people to get involved, and you need people who are going to walk the walk, not talk the talk.
Well, and that brings up a good point, and you pretty much nailed it right there. Our role right now is to bring this stuff to light around Bossier and, show everybody some of this, like we said from the beginning, some of this kind of inside baseball that's going on, present the documents, present the information, ad lib, and, throw in our opinion on it as well. But people have to step up. Every time there's a city council meeting and there's crickets chirping, it just pisses me off. Granted, I could go down to that city council meeting as well, but our role so far has been to take that video of the city council meeting and put our commentary on it when we need to. So everybody's got their role and their place and their lane that they need to get in. And we need some people to step up. Michael Ferris, Renee, I strongly encourage you to consider either you or David running for police juror. We've got to have people that will step up and then have some semblance of integrity. This may seem like small stuff, but it's really not.
Yeah, I mean, and there's 100 people watching, and I'm assuming the majority, with the exception of Greg Bell, wherever you're at, Greg, live in Bossier, and these are your elected officials. You should be demanding to know why they are lawless. They're going to give you some fluff that maybe, oh, I didn't know, or whatever. but you need to demand that they explain to you how they perceive it justified, for the Cypress district, how they perceive it justified for, them to appoint all themselves to the library board, another issue of lawlessness that we've mentioned. How this with Bush Ford, they didn't even advertise it. You're telling me that there's no professional engineers out there that would like to have a chance to be the engineer of our parish and better it? I'm gonna here. Let's throw us. Let's not let the school board out here. It's like the school board. Why is it that no professional outside of Bossier can get a shot at becoming the superintendent of Bossier? Why is it? And why does it always have to be a coach? Why does it always have to be a coach? You're telling me that we don't have just straight up educators in Bossier Parish that could be the superintendent and run the system? They have to be a coach? Y'all explain that one to me. I can't figure it out.
Yeah. Well, it, we're at this, fork in the road. Well, it's not really a fork in the road. We're at this bridge again where we've presented the information. We've presented the documents. I'll make sure and post them, to the Facebook page after the show, after I get through doing the podcast.
Innuendo, Rex.
Oh, yeah.
It's all innuendo that we're putting out here, and lies and deceit.
Right. We're gonna post the documents. We literally read from the official documentation tonight. I mean, I don't know how much more factual we can get. Yes, we did interject our opinions, but it's based on the documents in front of us. So it's up to y'all. What do you do from here? I can tell you the first thing you need to do. Everybody needs to email every police juror and let them know y'all are aware of what's going on and you're pissed off about it.
Ask these candidates that have already said they're running. Michael Ferris. I've met with Michael Ferris. I mean, look, I know his opponent, Bob Bretherton, and I know Michael Ferris. Michael Ferris, I'm telling you, is a strong-willed guy, and I know he's not scared to speak up and say his mind. Hell, he's told me and disagreed with me and told me what he thought, and I respect that. Keith Sutton, what did somebody said, two old guys on a curb or whatever? I don't know Keith real well. Keith, I want you to come on the show because I got to tell you, I want to vet you. I want to ask you some questions, but they don't have to come on our show. All of y'all can call these guys and squeeze them, pin them down.
And look, let me say something else too. We don't all have to have a hive mindset and groupthink. There's some things that Chris Smith has done I don't 100% agree with. There are a few things, and I kind of stirred up a little bit of controversy, saying that was going to be a softball game with his interview and all that. That doesn't mean I don't like Chris and appreciate what he's done or any of the rest of the South Bossier guys. Look, I forgot to put Shane's picture up there earlier. I still respect Shane Cheatham a lot. I don't necessarily agree with how Shane and Tommy handled the whole CAO business, but on balance, I absolutely respect Shane for what he stands for. And we've had our differences in the past too. But what I'm saying is, we don't all need to have the group think. That doesn't mean we always all get along and agree 100%. It's okay to disagree, but disagree and make your points clear on why you disagree.
Yeah, when was the last time the police jury disagreed on something?
When was the last time there was a no vote? Well, probably about the last time there was at the Cypress district, and I've gone back a long ways and can't find one.
That's right. But in Bossier City, the last contentious thing was the port deal, and as a result of that contention, you had, even though I didn't like the way that it turned out, I didn't, but I have to acknowledge and admit you had the best dialogue. The public was the most informed as a result of the disagreement and people debating. You had the most informative, public on a subject matter that has taken place in a long time. So it's not a bad thing to have dissension and have people disagreeing on issues and debating it and talk about it. And when you're not having it, that's when you've got a problem.
And I'll say this, a lot of people say, oh, well, yeah, but y'all have got the live show that you do. And, we reach a few thousand folks around the Bossier area. But look, anybody has an open invitation to come on the show. Specifically, any of the politicians or bureaucrats or anybody running for office or any of our guests. Just let us know. Come on in, or start your own podcast. We'll be glad to tell you how to do it, how we do it. The point is, everybody has a platform.
Everybody has a platform. I open it up right now. Let's get some people call in. Who wants to call in? Tag us or whatever. You can come in right now.
Keith's watching on YouTube, and glad to have you watching on YouTube, Keith. He says, neither one of us are old.
That wasn't us that said that. It was somebody in the comments.
Cheatham's two old guys. Last week I was chubby and scruffy. Now I'm old, dude. We might have to box. That's it. Yeah.
We're the old guys.
It's going to be Elon and Zuckerberg and Duke and Shane. We're all going to have it out. That's hilarious. So.
Yeah, no, I was quoting. I got to go back up there and see. Somebody said, I think it was Val Baker said, them two old guys. Gotta go look. It wasn't me.
Michael Ferris brings up a good point. Says, why after qualifying next week? Is qualifying next week? When is qualifying? What's the date of qualifying, Michael? Is it next week? I hadn't even looked. Duke, you and I were looking at the calendar earlier yesterday, but I don't remember when it was.
I will tell you that early voting starts in 2 months. 2 months. So I would guesstimate that qualifying probably is a couple of weeks to a month. That's probably about right.
Renee Hall says August 8th. Okay. All right. Yeah. So anyway, we'll start kind of wrapping the show up. Hey, we appreciate everybody watching. This is the largest audience we've had in a few weeks. It's usually pretty slow during the summertime and, with the holidays and all that, and school's out and all that sort of thing. So it usually does slow down, and usually there's not, a lot of controversy coming on or going on in the political arena around here. But we really appreciate everybody watching tonight. And look, take this information and do something about it. I think that needs to be the main message from tonight.
And it isn't that you can't be effective and you can't do something. You can do something. You can be successful. I mean, look, Colonel Crockett and everybody that supported the Term Limits Coalition, the Bossier Parish Republican Executive Committee, all as a group, we effectively did something. We all put our minds to it. We accomplished a goal that, is going to benefit Bossier for years to come. And, oh, by the way, Shane Cheatham, Val Baker did say, I'm looking at it, it says they still have their show, Two Dads on the Sidewalk. So it wasn't old guys, but it was two dads on the sidewalk.
Okay, they're dads. That's cool, I guess.
They are.
All right. So, so we ad-libbed a little bit. Two old guys, whatever. Come on.
Yeah, it was in fun. It was in fun.
Yeah. All right. Anything else for tonight, Mr. Lauer? I mean, we've shown what's going on again with Butch Ford and that he's got some real issues, and so does the police jury. We've discussed the positive news of term limits and the achievement of the signatures for the petition and turning that into the city. And, of course, we show that the Ayres is not going to do any detailed billing, or at least not reveal it, because, well,
open checkbook. I'm not going to send no detail, but open checkbook.
Yeah, they're on the taxpayer dime. So, anyway, yeah, there's Robert Wright. Of course, everybody's chiming in about the qualifying dates.
Hey, Keith Sutton's commenting. We ought to get Keith to come on right now.
Yeah. You got time to come on, Keith? Or let's get him scheduled for next week. Either one, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, either way. I mean, I did meet Keith at the Bossier Parish Republican Executive Committee. Seems like a straight shooter. I have watched him on the Two Guys on the Sidewalk with Shane. They've got some entertaining content. I'd encourage people to go and watch that. But I admittedly, I do want to delve into Keith's political ideology a little deeper. I do want to go there. I do want to go there.
Hey, before we close out, Shane, if you're still watching, or Keith, what time is the Sobo luncheon tomorrow? Is that the one that Chris Turner and Doty are going to be at speaking? What time is that at? We'll make sure and acknowledge that in the show or share it out on the feed too. We plan to have several guests, and I think haven't we already talked? Let's see, we've already got the green light from Chris Turner and from Doty
Yeah.
too. We just got to get it scheduled, right?
Yeah, Chris and Doty have officially said that they're going to come on the show and we're going to have a debate. And the thing is, Rex, and you know this, and folks watching, most of the time, when you see these candidates at events, just like the Sobo luncheon, and I'm not being critical because it's important to have these. The folks come, they introduce themselves, they talk, and they tell them, but you don't really have the candidates themselves, facing questions from each other or being able to, I hate to say go at it, but iron sharpens iron. I mean, you need them to be able to draw the distinctions, and they can draw those distinctions if they're enabled to be able to go at each other. And we've done that in the past in the Bossier City Council race. Brian Hammonds ended up winning that race. We had Mike Lombardino, and I forget the other candidate's name was in that race. They had a good debate. We did the Bessie debate. That went really well. And I think this election cycle, it's going to be imperative that you have, especially in the legislature, you have these candidates kind of go at it, because what I see shaping up is I see us potentially having an opportunity for Louisiana to really turn the page. I see an opportunity for Louisiana to finally cross over that hurdle that we've all longed to happen, and it just had never happened. But we could screw it up. We seems like we're good at that, and I think we need to really dot our I's and cross our T's in the legislative races. We need to let the candidates go at it, and we need to be clear in our minds as to what we support and what we oppose, and who we're going to support and who we're going to oppose.
Good point. And so, just to be clear, Shane Cheatham said that the Sobo luncheon is tomorrow at noon, going to 1:30. Our good friend Brian Hammonds, city councilman, says it's been changed to the cafeteria at Elm Grove Junior. That's I guess the junior high or middle school or whatever down there. So anyway, if you want to go check that out, we highly encourage you to, listen to the candidates in whatever venue. And like you said, Duke, in our case, we like to have them not go at it per se, but we like to challenge them a little bit. I'll say this, the Sobo luncheon that Seabiscuit spoke at, I guess it was the last one or about a month ago or whatever, it was kind of interesting. He kind of didn't hold back a little bit. So
anyway. Yeah, but he needed to be challenged.
Right.
He needed to be challenged and have the opportunity to challenge. And it's kind of uncomfortable for candidates to challenge each other in that setting. It's really hard to do. And,
right.
Anyway, we're going to do it. It needs to happen. It's been needing to happen, and we're going to make it happen.
Yeah, we'll provide the boxing gloves and the microphones, and away they go. All right, Mr. Lowry. Anything else?
Nope. Just thank everybody for watching. Appreciate it. Pass the message. Tell everybody about what you learned tonight, and hopefully we didn't insult your intelligence too terribly much. Hey, I want to take personal privilege. Thank you, Colonel Crockett, Barry Butler, Shane Cheatham, John Burns, to everybody that helped us gather signatures on the term limits petition in Bossier City. Thank you for, your time. I mean, time's the most valuable thing we have in any of our lives. It's not money. It's not assets. It's not anything. It's time. You gave time. Ryan Haygood, hat tip to all of you guys. Thank you.
Yep. You said it best. Let's get out of here. We're gone, folks. See y'all next week.
Good night.